All right, so now let's take a look at the concrete pad. So we're going to go over to our layers here, and we're going to do a star CONC, and let's turn on the concrete. Looks like we got concrete pads here. Um, it looks like it's just a hatch pattern, and it looks like this may be asphalt drive, and then maybe this is concrete. So we have maybe a heavy duty or light duty concrete in here, which we'll take a look at that later. So let's turn that off and just focus on these kind of brownish lines, which are the edges of the concrete apron for the pumps and the dumpster pad, it looks like, and then the where the underground tanks are going to be. So what we're going to do here is kind of same thing. Let's go to our layer manager and let's create a new layer, and we'll just call this STK-conc pads. And again, I like to use cyan as a color for the concrete pads or edge of concrete. And then what we can do is basically we can take this layer or this line and this line, since they're all joined, and instead of redrawing them, let's just go ahead and put them on that layer. So we'll scroll down till we find the concrete pad layer. And then for this, it looks like we've got a line here. Looks like it's got a line style on it. But we can do the same thing. We either draw it or just grab it. So probably the easiest thing to do is really just take the polyline. But before we do that, we want to make the concrete pad active. So double click on that. We'll just go polyline and we'll start up in this corner, and we're just going to grab these points here. Now we will want to go back and make sure that we've got it um, set to no elevation. So we don't know if these brown lines have elevation on them. So this is like edge of sidewalk. So I'm just basically just tracing and drawing this around. And that way we're not having to do multiple steps, basically changing the layer and then doing a polyline edit. So here we could just hit close, right? So I'm just going to right click and close, and it'll close that object. And that's the concrete pad. Now, if we wanted to, we could repeat the polyline and, add a little more detail if we want to add that point in. We basically just right click and enter again, right click and repeat polyline, go here and here. Oops. So we undo. Let's try that again. Right click. Actually, let's go back, draw a polyline, pick that point there, and end point there. All right. So again, depending on what it is we're required to stake out, maybe we have to stake out these columns. We might want to bring in those and set points there. So we would have to look through the layers to find that and set those points. And maybe we'll go ahead and do that exercise just in case, if we have to stake out these column locations, for maybe some footings or some other, other important information. But more than likely, we would have to stake out these footing locations. So we'll go ahead and draw those in while we're at it. But let's check this elevation to make sure that it's at the right elevation. So you can see it's negative 17. So we're going to set it to 0. So these are just all 2D polylines that we want to make sure that, they're not at elevation negative 17. We want to make sure they're all at 0, because otherwise we might want to stake it out and somebody stakes it out wrong, then that would come back on us. So basically we're getting there. Now we can turn off that concrete layer. Now we've got more data that we can identify and go stake out.